Roses are red. I eat tangerines. China may be using C to hide its submarines. What's up?
Wow.
This is PretzelCast. This is a pretzel. I'm Alex.
I'm Robert.
I'm Greg.
This is
It's
PretzelTime.
We're bad.
Yeah.
Hi.
Mm-hmm.
We got some questions, not from Twitter, because we're lonely, and Alex decided not to tweet, even though I've been telling him, Alex, tweet like a lot. He's an angry
It's hard
boy.
to get Twitter questions when no one is following the Twitter.
Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe you should follow.
Just
It's
ready?
at PretzelTimecast. It's in the slide that we show, because our faces are too ugly for cameras.
So I've got a couple questions for people that I went around asking questions.
Harassing.
Yeah, no, it was harassment. It was borderline assault. He pinned them down, put a knife to their neck, and said, "You're gonna ask me a question."
Here's the first question: Roblox or Minecraft?
Oh no, that's just hard.
This is a gaming podcast now.
Yeah.
It's not a gaming podcast, to be clear.
Answer the gosh darn question, Gregory.
Oh man.
From a practical standpoint, Roblox.
I'm Minecraft. Was my childhood.
Roblox because it has more options to do stuff.
Yeah, well.
Like,
Okay.
I want to go to my Little Pony tycoon. Okay.
Well,
I want to go bully small children.
Well, that's
no,
mean.
I don't condone bullying small children.
Greg harasses his children with his superior intellect. What would happen if you crossed chicken DNA with bonsai tree DNA?
Satan.
Chicken tree. Next question.
Small
that
chicken
wouldn't work.
tree.
That would-
Next question. Why can't dogs vote?
They should.
should.
They should. This should be a unanimous thing because they would only vote for good boys. Actually, no, they'd vote for whoever has the most treats.
Next question. What's the meaning of life?
Yes.
Next question, please.
We've got some things to say. We got some. Speaking of weird, Greg, what's the weird thing that we have on the document?
Wow, Alex, that was the best segue that
What's
I've
the
ever
weird
heard.
What is...
We've got weird sayings. For instance, this one that nobody's ever heard of. If you actually have heard this one before.
You are a god.
No, you're not a god, but
You've ascended past my knowledge, which is actually not that hard.
it's really
If you're actually not superior to my intellect, you should consider getting help.
You should probably get that checked out.
Actually, go to the hospital. You're
For
having a
any of
stroke.
us. For any of us, if we're gonna be honest. But if you do know what this one means, or if you have heard this one like commonly before, then you're probably English. I'm guessing because it was actually it
It has
originated.
English origin.
It originated in Bristol, where there were pubs, like, and people would spill their drinks and puke everywhere because they were barely functional alcoholics. So what they do is they shovel sand onto the ground to like soak up the spills. I do my best, okay?
Soak up the skin.
The sand.
So what they do is they just shovel sand and they just spread it all over the ground so people wouldn't, slip and then die, and then they'd have a lawsuit on their hands.
Actually, did they have lawsuits back then?
I don't know, probably. I think so.
It was just unpleasant.
It was just unpleasant to
They
have.
had
It would just be
stonings.
it would just
They had stonings.
They had
True.
lynchings. But basically what would happen is instead of being paid in money, I'm sure that they probably were paid in some amount of money, but they were
Yeah.
also paid in drink because it was England and everybody drinks in the British Isles. So that's a stereotype. and I can't be racist against.
What would you guys want to be paid in?
Death.
Jolly Ranchers.
Alex, what's Jolly Ranchers?
Grape.
Alex, what?
Jolly Ranchers.
Grape Jolly Ranchers.
Get out. Go
No,
away.
no, it's true.
Okay.
Go away.
Green raspberry, green apple, and blue raspberry are obviously superior, and watermelon. Those are the three good ones.
I like watermelon.
Alex, why don't you tell them about the what was that about your crow?
Crime birds?
Crime birds.
I've got a plan, and it's called Project Crime Birds. So you know how crows will like pick up thing, like you feed crows over and over again,
Yeah.
and they'll give you like great special friend gifts.
Like little pieces of metal and like
Wait.
dead rodents.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm thinking is I could train a flock of crows to fly into like a gas station or something, swoop in, grab a couple bags of Jolly Ranchos, and then like give them to me.
That's amazing.
And then I
Wait,
feed them McDonald's French fries and sunflower seeds.
Wouldn't it? What was this the motivation behind the birds in the movie The Birds in the Alfred Hitchcock movie?
Oh.
Were they all just looking for Jolly Ranchos? But the thing is, back then they didn't have Jolly Ranchers, so that was the issue. They just got angry and confused and started killing everyone.
Crows are not driven by like reproduction or food. They're driven by Jolly Ranchos.
Quite obviously. Quite obviously. You see, we came through a breakthrough in modern ornithology. Ornithology. Excuse me.
Ornithology.
Yes.
Ornithology.
One of the more common ones was skeleton in the cupboard. So basically, until the 1830s, it was actually illegal for even medical schools to dissect and, do autopsies on dead human bodies. So basically what they had to do is they'd have, like, grave robbers and murderers get, them dead bodies, and they'd pay them money and stuff for that. But it was illegal, so police would go and look through everything, and if bodies were just out, then they'd get arrested, so they had to stash them away in, say, a closet, or in a cupboard. So they put the bodies in the cupboards. That's where that comes from.
Where'd you hide a medical dead body?
In the cupboard.
Medical dead body? Why medical?
We don't actually killing people.
To be clear, the PretzelTime podcast does not condone the
Murder.
Murder.
Don't do it bad.
Don't do bad, because bad is bad and good is good. Even
and
if
bad
you're
makes sad.
bad makes sad, and sad make bad,
And sad make bad.
and bad make bad McDonald. No McDonald, because McDonald makes sad. No bad.
No, do it bad. You know what else is bad?
Matt is a hat.
Hat.
You want to read? Speaking
know-
of hats, the next one we have. Why don't you read that one
The next weird
off?
saying we have is mad as a blank computer. Mad as a hatter.
The computer one.
In the 18th and 19th century, mercury was used in felting and hat making. The madness of hat makers was the result of mercury poisoning.
Which would affect the brain and make you bad.
Make you.
Yeah, I've got another story about mercury. So, in the old and dumb people days when we didn't know what
Well, they weren't dumb.
not to
They
eat
were just.
poison.
They just didn't know.
They just didn't know.
Yeah.
And they didn't learn from their mistakes like intellectuals.
Yeah.
So they were
So-
dumb.
Yes, they. Okay,
People
yeah,
weren't
they were.
smart until now.
That's not true.
People weren't smart until I was born. Then intellectual genius got us.
Once an intellectual. So, people would give little bits of mercury, little spoonfuls of mercury to children, and they would play around with it. They moved it around in their hands because it's whoa, a cool molten metal. And then it would get smaller and smaller and smaller until it disappeared. And that was because it was absorbing into their skin. And then they would die of being poisoned by mercury.
Bad
Parents were
parenting.
great back then.
Bad parenting, dude. Or maybe they wanted that to happen.
Yeah,
Maybe
no.
they knew.
Because sometimes you don't realize it was a mistake until years after.
Good.
14 years.
15, excuse me, I'm 15 years old.
I'm
Big boy.
14.
Big boy, not even a boy.
What's the next one?
I'm a boy. I'm a man boy. I'm a boy.
I'm a boy man.
So speaking of mercury and stuff like that, I have a mercury thing. Mercury is actually notorious for its toxic properties. We all know this.
Yes.
But it was once used really commonly in medicine, as Alex was talking about. These stupid doctors, they don't even know what they're doing. But it was used as a common elixir in topical medicine. It was prescribed for people to become immortal. For example, during the Renaissance in the 20th century, mercury was was prescribed to patients with STDs such as syphilis. While some accounts claim that the heavy metal treatment was successful in fighting off the infection,
What's another weird history thing?
Yes.
so other stuff about medical stuff. Doctors used to use human body parts, bones, and human blood to cure diseases. They'd prescribe dead body parts to people. For instance, in Rome, it was believed that fallen gladiator blood would cure epilepsy. Fun fact, it didn't.
Oh, wow. I can't imagine
Fun
why.
fact, they were wrong. A lot of people were.
A lot of people were. It's oh god. Just imagine how bad that could have been. They just give them some gladiator blood that may or may not have had like HIV. Actually, no, they didn't have HIV back then. That wasn't until the 80s.
HIV didn't happen.
HIV wasn't a thing during that time.
Really?
It wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing, but it was there.
Yeah, it was in like variants of the disease that weren't able to affect humans though. So, anyways, he could have had like diseases in the blood, but that could have been really bad though. They could have thought that they were cured, and then they could have just like done something to like that they're not normally supposed to do, and then they like have a seizure and fall off something and then die. But as I said earlier, it might just be natural selection.
It was because
was
they
blood of
disagreed
epileptics
with the Bible.
used for curing blood?
What?
Do you think you could get tapeworm from?
Could you
You can't get tapeworm from blood.
Do you think you could get tapeworm from human meat? How they like did that, like with
Well,
it?
yeah, but the thing is that they actually. The thing about tapeworms is that that's also something that doctors would prescribe people to lose weight.
Oh,
So
that was actually
that's
that
the thing.
wasn't really long time ago. I don't think
It wasn't.
Oh,
It was in like when they had newspapers. It was
Yeah,
like a beauty
no, it was
thing.
it was a beauty thing.
That's disgusting.
But anyways,
Actually, there was also a thing. Do you know why the barber sign
What?
spirals?
oh yeah, because they
No.
would bloodlet. Yeah.
What?
They
I
used
wanted
to
to
like.
talk about bloodletting.
Well, I'm sorry,
Wait, what does
but
that have to do with-
barbershops, barbers and like people who would cut hair also would perform surgeries because
Ugh.
they didn't have
surgery in
surgery
finger
equipment,
quotes.
and people didn't surgery in finger quotes and
And
just chop off a
scissors.
leg. You're
Oh!
fine. And people is like, oh, I got the flu, and they're like, all right, let's just slit open your wrist, and you'll be all right
You
tomorrow
got
morning.
bad blood.
You got bad
Ugh.
blood. That was most people know about that. But back to mercury. One really kind of infamous case of people using mercury was in China. They thought that mercury would grant you immortality, and so Chinese Emperor Qin Shi Huang. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that or mispronouncing that. But he was obsessed, like completely obsessed with being immortal. He was scared to death of death. And he decided to ingest mercury pills because this alchemist was like, yo, man, you take this mercury that has been known to kill people, you'll live forever.
It's like okay.
He's like, okay. What happened, Rob?
I think he was
He died,
immortal.
Rob. He died.
Oh.
He died a horrible and painful liver failure death.
Oh.
I hadn't.
So he is immortal now,
wait,
right?
No, he's
His
dead,
liver
Rob.
just flew off. His liver was immortal.
Rob,
His
he
liver.
decomposed.
How do you know?
Yeah.
Because that's what happens to dead bodies, Robert.
Have you seen his body?
I haven't seen his body.
Yeah. So how do you know? How do you know, Greg?
Today
I'm
on
not- you're
bad.
You're giving me.
I just beat Greg.
Wait. You guys are giving me an existential crisis. I think.
Existential
Life has no-
Christmas?
Yes, I'm being given an existential Christmas.
Extended
Wonderful.
An extended Christmas. But yeah, people really liked their mercury back in the day.
Mm.
But speaking of back in the day, this next one's not too long ago.
So, Australia. What a place.
What a place Australia
What a
is.
place. So,
Wildlife there.
wildlife. They had a bit of a conflict with a native animal in Australia that just so happened to be an emu. Well, you see, they were everywhere, so what better than doing to have a war on them? So,
Yeah.
What
no,
was this war
they-
called?
The Great Emu War. It
It's-
was called the Great Emu War.
It's very appropriate.
It's very appropriate.
When Australia
What-
went to war with its native species.
Australia.
You guys remember that time that
Was it a civil war?
Wait, no. Whoa. Was it a civil war? Because technically they're natives.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
no.
It was a civil war. Australia's
Australia's
only civil war was against, so
was against a birds.
and here's the kicker. They lost. You see-
Australia lost.
Against
Emus.
they lost against birds. And they had a Maxim gun, assault rifles, and thousands of rounds of ammo. And yet still, they managed to have casualties on their own side.
Who would win? 3 dudes in a car with a bunch of gun? Or some big birds?
There's some hairy boys that like eating farmers' crops. So this all went down in 1932, and the first and second attempts claimed only 100 emus, about 100, or a couple hundred at the least. But then they had campaigns with the farmers, going out and just shooting people. Shooting shooting the birds, and they claimed like a few thousand or something. But still, it didn't really diminish the emu population by a lot. And technically, they lost to birds. Going to our next topic being weird science. Now, the first thing that we have here, Alex, you want to talk about Marie Curie?
Marie Curie was a scientist studying radiation.
Radon, yeah. She was studying radon.
Did she discover radon?
Yeah, she discovered
She was the
radon.
first person to discover radon. She was also the first person to discover dying of radiation poisoning.
It's true.
So, when she was studying in her lab, she would go to open her door, like after she experimented with radon, and her door in her lab, still is radioactive.
Yeah.
And so is her chair, because she would pull out her chair.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the entire room is still parts of her room are still radioactive to this day.
I want
Another
Geiger counter.
Yeah, another fact is, in Pripyat, Ukraine, not Pripyat, Ukraine, in Ukraine,
Yeah.
in Chernobyl, the
Mm-hmm.
nuclear reactor meltdown,
Yeah.
there's a thing in the basement, which is basically all of the melted, burned up
Yeah.
reactor gunk that melted all over the floors and then fell into the basement.
Yeah.
Is the most radioactive thing on Earth, and it's called the elephant's foot.
Wow. Oh.
Never heard of that.
Wowee.
Yeah, it looks like a big plop of goop.
Wow. So, talking about big plops of goop,
Yeah.
I don't know how this connects to mantis shrimp, but it does. So, because I told you.
You'll become a big plop of goop if you touch one of these.
Because they're deadly. You see, they could use their armored claws to strike at speeds of 74 feet per second, which is 23 meters a second if you use the metric system, delivering blows with 200 pounds of force behind them.
Yeah.
And for tiny, tiny little surface area, there's a reason that they're called thumb splitters.
Yeah.
So, just to put that in perspective, that's basically the amount of power, or the equivalent of shooting your thumb off with a .22 caliber bullet.
It is.
Yeah.
It's pretty not fun, to say the very least.
It gets so fast that it creates a little air bubble, and that air bubble is thousands of degrees hot.
Yeah, they're also called pistol shrimp, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because that's how I learned about them.
Oh.
Also, one last one: cockroaches actually hiss to woo their mates.
Wow.
So next time you see a cute boy or girl, just go up to them and start hissing at them violently.
And they'll run. They will
They
run.
will run.
But not
Probably
for long.
not toward you, but
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
I mean, you might get lucky. I mean, they could be part cockroach.
My father was part cockroach.
I can tell.
Regional dialect.
It's a reason.
Yeah, so that's all we have. I hope you guys enjoyed our nonsense.
You can reach us on Twitter, which our @ is just in the
Please
thing.
do.
Please do. It's gonna be in the description below too, so that's always cool. Please send us questions for the next video. You will show up in the next one if you ask questions. We don't have many people sending us questions. It's not like you're gonna
We
get
don't have
drowned out.
any people.
We don't
sending
have
us
any
He
questions.
has to harass
So
people to get questions.
He does, and it's kind of pathetic.
It's
It
really-
really
yeah.
is.
I am very pathetic.
He is.
This is what this is.
Alex is just a synonym for sad.
Oh.
If you rearrange the letters of my name, you actually get depressed child.
What?
Not wrong.
Wait.
Not wrong. Facts.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yes, Rob. So yeah, I'm Greg.
I'm Robert.
MX.
This has been PretzelTime.
Woo!
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
You get a star or something for making this far.
You get a
Jesus.
special star.
You
Matt.
get a jolly round term.
You get. Oh, can I have a jolly